Is the WrestleMania moment for you, WrestleMania 23, holding that briefcase on top of the ladder? Yeah, there it is.
Definitely. And I remember like, sorry, I just got a phone call.
No, it's okay.
I remember thinking like that was what I wanted to do when I grabbed it, and I start climbing the ladder, and you can see I look up and I'm like, this isn't going to be a good shot. So I shifted the ladder over so it's directly underneath that briefcase. Yeah, definitely. And you know the crazy thing about that was I remember walking through the curtain and looking out and expecting to see this, like, it was 83,000 people. That's the most people I had ever wrestled in front of.
Sure.
And it didn't look like it. It just looked like a really jam-packed, 15,000 seat, 20,000 seat arena.
So just like a Raw or a SmackDown.
Yeah. And so then I did my match and I showered up and I went up to the boxes because they had a luxury box up there for the family members. And that's when I got over to the window and I looked out and I saw this giant sea of people and this little tiny ring in the center of everything. And then it dawned on me what I had just done. It was kind of crazy. But
I mean, when you look at everybody else that was in that match, they're all Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers. In fact, do you remember everybody in that match?
I think Randy, Booker T, Edge, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Finley.
You say Booker?
I thought I did, but Booker.
Finley.
Booker, Finley, Edge, Matt, Jeff,
Punk.
Randy, Punk. That's right.
Yeah.
And then we had this funny moment because Punk and I were on, like, I don't know, I think it was Punk's first show ever and my second show ever. We were on this show together, and it was in like Whitewater, Wisconsin, and we hadn't talked about it in forever. Like it just hadn't been brought up. And the very last thing is Punk and I are up at the top of the ladder and we're trading blows. And then I think he goes up and I take a ladder and I knock him off. But when we're trading blows, he goes, hey, it's kind of a far cry. We're kind of far away from Whitewater, Wisconsin, wouldn't you say? Like, we're trading back and forth. And it was just kind of a cool moment that I had with him.
Oh, man. I see a lot of parallels to your run at that point, you winning Money in the Bank, to what's going on right now with Austin Theory. And I don't know, do you feel like there's any parallels there?
I don't know. I can't say like with absolute certainty because I don't follow closely. Like I usually watch because I'm spending so much time at the academy. I probably don't watch as much wrestling as I should. But what I have seen of Austin Theory, I love. And I think he's got everything, all the tools necessary. Vince loves him, right?
That seems to be the thing. Like, I feel like Vince thinks he has the look and the skills, mic skills. Yeah, which, again, sounds a heck of a lot like Ken Kennedy. I heard a great story that when you were coming up with your name, there was like a meeting because you were going by your, legit name, Ken Anderson.
Yep.
That there was talk of making your name A-hole because you were an a-hole.
So Vince asked me, do you have any catchphrases? And I said, yeah, nice guys finished last. Thank God I'm an asshole. And he was like, they had just gone PG. He was like, no, I don't, we can't do that. And then Johnny was sitting there. So it was like Johnny, Stephanie, Kevin Dunn, Vince. I think that's who was all in that room. And Johnny goes, well, hey, how about what if your name was like Adam Hole? And then you could say, nice guys finished last. Thank God I'm an a-hole. And it would be. And I remember Vince there was a silence in the room. And Vince just looked up at me and he goes, what do you think of that?
Uh-oh.
And I said, I like it. I think it's funny. But I feel like that would be sort of a flash in the pan. Somebody that would be here for like 2 or 3 months and then be done. It sounds very gimmicky. And I plan on being here for a long time. And Vince was like, it was like almost as though it were a test.
When you
But yeah, that was,
when you took Vince's middle name and made it your last name, was there a moment where Vince was like, huh, I see what you're doing here and I like it?
I feel like he did. Because it was Paul that suggested it in the first place. Because I called Paul and I said, hey, they want me to change my name. What do you think? And he was like, you have to pick something that is near and dear to his heart. He was like, his dog's name is Ruckus or Rumpus. I think he had 2 dogs at the time. But what about Kenny Rumpus, Kenny Ruckus? No. And then I was Kamikaze Ken when I started in the Indies, and I had these like backwards K's, and I wanted to sort of like keep that as my logo.
Yeah.
I was like something with a K, and he was Kennedy is his middle name. And then I remember when we were in that room, and I said that, he just paused for a minute. He goes, "Oh, I don't think there's ever been a Kennedy. Do you like it?" And I was like, "I like Ken Anderson, to be honest with you, but you can call me Mr. Dickhead if you want to. It's your company." And he just kind of smirked, and then he looked at Kevin Dunn and he goes, "Make sure he's got Kennedy on his Titan front tonight." And that was the second week. That was the week that I debuted on SmackDown. So the first 2 weeks that I was there on TV, I was Anderson.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about you winning Money in the Bank and you do win the match, are there plans at that time for like, all right, you're going to win it here at WrestleMania 23? Did they already have the plans written out of when you were going to cash in?
Yeah, the idea was that I would cash it in at next year's WrestleMania. That was the plan. They said it.
Right.
I announced it right away, I believe.
You did, yeah. But I mean,
And
plans change, I feel like.
yeah, and that was the plan. And then a few months later, I feel like I only had it a month and a half, 2 months maybe. And they came to me. I was riding with Matt Hardy. We had left the building early, which was unlike us. We usually stayed until the very end. For whatever reason, that day we left early. And I got a call from Michael Hayes, and he said, "Where are you guys? I need you to come back. Vince needs to talk to you in his office." So I scurried back to the building, and I was walking into his office. And by the time we got back there, everybody had pretty much filed out. So it was an empty building. And I remember Batista coming out of Vince's office, and we passed each other in the hall, and he just came up to me and he gave me a big hug, and he was like, you deserve it, bro." And I played stupid. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? He was like, just, go in there. That I want them to tell you. So I went in, it was Vince and Stephanie, and they said, "Look, we had planned on having Taker as the champion for like a really long time. Unfortunately, he's injured, tore his biceps, I believe, and he needs to have surgery. So we are going to next week." And he laid out the scenario basically, and he's like, "And you're going to cash in your briefcase. We're going to have a new champion." And I remember him telling me that they were high on Batista at the time. That was their guy, and that if Batista, sometimes guys are better when they're chasing a title. When they have it, they kind of like their ratings kind of dip, and they felt like Batista needed to chase for a while, and they said, when we feel the time is right, we're going to put it on Batista, but we don't know how long that could be. It could be like a month or 5 months or 6 months, whatever. And I remember I just said, like, "Look, I appreciate you guys saying that, but this is business, and I'll do what's necessary." And then the very next time I wrestled, I got clotheslined, and I hit the mat, and I felt something pop in my triceps. I rolled out to the floor, and I remember Finley came out, and he looked at me and goes, "That doesn't look good." And by the time I got downstairs, it was already, my arm was swollen up. I couldn't bend it. It was starting to change colors already, which is really weird because, bruising normally takes like a week, like those deep bruises.
Yeah.
And then I remember Hornswoggle drove me to the emergency room in Erie, Pennsylvania. I got an MRI. And then the next day, Stephanie called me in my hotel room, and she's like, "Ken, you tore your triceps off the bone. We're going to have to, we still need to get that title off of Taker though. So we're sending Vince's jet to pick you up. We're going to take you to Penn State. Edge is going to challenge you for the briefcase, and then he's going to go on and do what you were supposed to do tomorrow night."
Oh.
Okay. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I've got a year to cash this thing in. Isn't there some other way that you can get it off him? But I didn't say it. I sort of regret not saying it now, but And then I went in, Edge called me a chicken. I said, nobody calls me chicken. And I gave up the briefcase. The next day I flew to Birmingham, Alabama. I'm sitting on Doc Andrews' table and he's feeling my triceps and he was like, that's not a tear. And I was like, excuse me? And he goes, no, I don't feel a tear in there. There's not a tear there. I'm pretty sure. So we did another MRI and sure enough, it was just a bruise. It was like a large bunch of blood vessels burst inside my triceps. And he said, you'll be out for 4 or 5 weeks. And then that was it. So kind of a crazy.
How did that derail all the momentum that you had though? Because I feel like it could be just a month later, you're back in the title picture, you know, like you challenge Edge again.
I mean, it was frustrating, but I knew that that's just the way the business rolls. You know, the job of a WWE writer has to be the worst job in the world or the hardest, because most writers that write for television shows, you know, you had 22 episodes in a season. These guys have to come up with content, you know, every single week. Plus, it's not just, they're not just writing for one show, they're writing for Raw and SmackDown, and then they have to come up with content for the pay-per-views and online content and stuff. So I get it. Like sometimes they just, hey, it's a mad scramble. People get hurt. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? That's not the same, you know, that's not just completely abandoning everything. So it was frustrating. And it had happened to me a couple times at that point. So it was, that was really frustrating, but it was what it was. And I just thought like, I'll bounce back. I'll be okay.
Yeah.